Hi, I'm Peter J. Ray. Welcome to Adventures in History. Today's topic is Dearest Mother and Dad. Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Jan, Patricia, and Peter. 1980, Part 167. These are letters based on the original publication, Smallshaw Family Memories Collection, or SFMC number 81, published on June 19, 2002. Letter from the editor of the SFMC. Yours truly, Peter J. Ray. And on goes the saga of Ruth and John's family. Enjoying Cistern Key so much. Mark entering the business world and domestic life. Patricia getting ready to graduate from Dartmouth College. Peter moving through his college years at Duke University, and so on and so forth. Ruth's enthusiasm for life and getting so many things accomplished is inspirational. Enjoy, dear readers. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. January 15th, 1980. Dearest Mother, it was super to arrive home and get your 2 good letters when John picked up our big box of Christmas mail at the post office. Your one written before Christmas. We appreciate it even more than if we'd received it before we left. I'm so glad that the Christmas parcel arrived okay before Christmas and that you enjoyed it all. It was so good that you had a fine Christmas and New Year's dinner with Bud and the Hoods. I'm wondering what you'd heard from and about Janet. In the Bahamas, I dreamed that John and I flew to Toronto to find her, and then Bud arrived also. A strange Christmas for Bud with his kids away. We felt so fortunate to have all ours together for almost 2 weeks and be with each one for 3 weeks. Patricia came home December 7th but had to go back New Year's. Don't ever worry about Christmas gifts. You already painted that lovely china, and we enjoyed your Christmas pudding in the Bahamas, and the best gift of all, your wonderful spirit and inspiration that even in the age 80s can be great. I sat next to an 80-year-old fellow making his 650th trip to the Bahamas, and I said I hoped I'd be going down when I'm 80, and he said, "You will." About our 17th trip now, I think. It's so beautiful down there and being all together. Janice said that it had been a real inspiration. The whole trip was like being in a James Bond movie, as I wrote. Patty came back on Robert Vesco's boat. Fortunately, the weather here has been great. 60s, temperature in the 60s at Christmas and 50s this week. We went to a Greek dinner and dance at the yacht club the night after we got back. John had an office client party the night we returned. Yesterday, John had a pre-trial in Tiffin, Ohio, about 12 lawyers, so we took Helen to John's mother's, and she cooked a chicken dinner while we drove to the court, and so we had dinner with Helen and John's mother, a delicious dinner, and then took Helen back to Oberlin. We planned to take them out to dinner, but his mom preferred to cook. I tested nursery school children's eyes this morning. Peter has asked for Brian's address. He'd like to visit him in Japan. Peter was the life of the party in the Bahamas. He arranged for us to go back to Norman's Key on a conch boat. Quite an experience. We were late for the plane, so they charged us $20 more. John, Mark, and Peter got the roof up on the gazebo on the beach, but we left the lathing and palm fronding for Steve Cox and Thaddeus to do, and John will pay them $275. John earned $73,000 last year. Lots of taxes, though. Remember Dale, my assistant in Florida, who got me to come to Cleveland? John dated her before I dated him. She married a young architect. I was her bridesmaid. He had some kind of brain tumor. This fall she went back to St. Augustine, Florida to teach, and he died December 10th. We're going to Disney World February 26th. Want to come? What prompted Janet to leave if she was still so fond of Tom? Dr. Rummage sent this picture he took of our family New Year's Day on the dock as Patty was leaving. We'll send later. Love, Ruth. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. January 29th, 1980. Dearest Mother, thank you so much for the lovely box of ginger chocolates and bran muffins. I heated and ate one of the muffins before I received your letter saying they were for John. I'm sending each other ginger chocolates. The only ones I could find here were handmade and expensive. Hope they were good. I'm about to send a What's Happened, How Are You letter. Even John noticed that we hadn't heard. Hope you're okay. You didn't mention how Janet is or what she's doing. Bud would be grateful to Marnie and Don and so glad they were there and also that Bud could fly and be with her. We all had a great time in the Bahamas for Christmas and New Year's, a real privilege to be with each of our kids for 3 weeks and all together for 2 weeks. And we hoped to repeat it all in March. Each trip cost about $2,500, so $5,000 for our Christmas and spring trips. But these golden opportunities don't come often. Bud goes February 9th to the 23rd. We leave February 26th for Disney World and the convention. John plans to come back for a few days, but I plan to stay in Florida with some friends. I may see Dale, her husband died, and meet John and Peter in Miami on March 7th, and Mark and Janice in Nassau, and we'll fly out to our island. Patty will come out a few days later. Peter goes back March 16th, and we all come back March 23rd. Then spring. I phoned Air Canada to see about you flying to Florida where we'd meet you and take you to Disney World and the Bahamas with us all, and you'd fly back from Nassau. The Super Saver has to be made a month in advance, and I didn't know if you'd feel like making the trip or leaving your house. We have a boy who comes in to feed the cats, water the plants, and check the beach house. His mother even slept here one night. Our beach gazebo should be finished so some of the kids can sleep there. The builder is coming out to see about building a house for us. We had told all the kids that we would pay for their college education, getting their degrees, but after that they were on their own. However, John feels that we can afford to help them further, so he phoned all of them Saturday and said he'd help them financially to get graduate degrees. Patty to go on further and Peter medical school, and he's sending Mark $3,500 to help him. Mark's thinking of getting his doctorate, a PhD in theology. Patty got 730 out of 800 for her verbal part of her GREs, graduate entrance exams, and today she is being interviewed by 6 male professors all at once about going into archaeology in Crete, Greece. She's also thinking of going to interpreter school in Geneva, Switzerland. She may go on a Princeton summer program to Paris, France. Mark has had something wrong with his neck since last July. He went to a doctor and to an orthopedic surgeon for x-rays who said it might be discs and several times to a chiropractor. He was wearing a foam collar and they thought he might have to go into traction. At Christmas, I suggested he go to the dentist for a cracked tooth. Last Monday night, I went to the spiritual healing service at St. Peter's Church and prayed for his neck. Thursday, he made a dental appointment. Friday, he went to the dentist. The dentist said, "I think I know what's wrong with your neck." He has an impacted wisdom tooth. The root's growing sideways into another tooth, so the oral surgeon will have to remove it. Hopefully that will solve his terrible neck problems. Patty also had an interview for the Peace Corps. I told Mark that I'd gone to the spiritual healing and prayed for his neck, and he said, "Thanks, Mom." We went down to the boat show Friday night to see if we could find a sailboat for the Bahamas. We went to the winter dance at the yacht club Saturday, prime rib dinner, and after church Sunday visited some friends who bought a house on the lake. And then we went to the movie Breaking Away. Tonight we're going to Oberlin. Patty's music teachers at Dartmouth are playing in a cello piano concert. The final night of a beautiful music series. We're taking Helen Lacey too. Saturday night we're taking the young couple whose little boy died in August out to dinner. I went to a painting class this morning. I'm still painting roses. I sent Peter Brian's address. Peter would like to visit him. He would like to get a job over there, too. I'm certainly sorry to hear about Marnie's cataract operation. She's so young and has such pretty eyes, too. Whatever was wrong with her about the baby? Does Bud feel better about Janet now? He asked me to pray for her. Why did she leave so suddenly? When I tried to have her come, she said she couldn't do things so quickly. What happened to her things? Furniture, your sofa, lamp, my crepe maker I gave you, her lamp? Who did she drive with? Who is Randy? What is she doing? I wrote, but she didn't reply. What is her phone number? I am wondering if I should make reservations for you for Florida and the Bahamas. Love, Ruth. Now this next letter is from John to Augusta Smallshaw. Meyer, Stevens, and Ray, attorneys at law, the Superior Bart Building, Cleveland, March 3rd, 1980. Dear Mrs. Smallshaw, we just got back from a very pleasant visit to Florida. Since you have such a lovely aura, we thought you might enjoy the enclosed article. I'm looking forward to doing our Bahamas thing again shortly. Love, Ruth and John. Errol by the Sea, New Smyrna Beach, Florida, March 3rd, 1980. Dearest Mother, we had a great time at Disney World. We went to dinner at the Polynesian Place and had a champagne brunch at the top of the world. Well, the first night we had dinner with our friend from Detroit, Grosse Pointe, Birmingham, 8 of us at the Polynesian Place. The next day we had a buffet lunch at the Top of the World Contemporary Hotel where we were staying. The president's reception that night, then we went to the Top of the World for dining and dancing. Patty Page sang. Our friends from Philadelphia had phoned long distance a week before because they wanted to go with someone who liked to dance. So we had a good dancing group. They had a great breakfast for the ladies and buffet lunch at the golf club. John had his meetings every day. He does the newsletter and membership committee. He is also playing golf. They had a Bourbon Street party and spent a day at the Magic Kingdom, went on most of the rides and wonderful entertainment. Formal dinner and dance and champagne brunch at Top of the World. We had a lovely room with 2 king-size beds and a studio couch and sliding glass doors to the patio near the swimming pool, and beach with boats, etc. I know you would have enjoyed it all. They had a salute to Canada, so all Canadians had an unlimited pass on all the Magic Kingdom. There were so many Canadians there. They even gave John an honorary Canadian one. Guess they thought my husband would be Canadian. I was so tempted to make your reservation and mail you a ticket. You'd fly to Toronto and to Tampa. Now Janet can meet you in Toronto. I'm here with our friends from Grosse Pointe. They have a lovely condominium overlooking the ocean with a beautiful view. We hope to get to see Dale in St. Augustine. Dan died December 10th. I plan to visit her. She phoned long distance and invited me to visit her. We plan to visit Cape Canaveral today. I had a good note from Bud, the most animated John said that we'd ever had. I'm so glad that he's happier. I have all the groceries packed in boxes by the garage door at home so that the cab driver can help John with them. I'll meet him Friday night in Miami. Peter, too. Mark and Janice have direct flights from Boston, and we'll meet them in Nassau and go out to Cistern Key on Saturday. Patty comes Monday. She has her own plane and boat. We're looking forward to seeing them all and being with them. Wish you could, too. I'm sure it would be good for you to get away. We love you, Ruth. Buccaneer Way, Cistern Key, Exumas, Bahamas, March 15th, 1980. Dearest Mother, ahoy! Today is Peter's last day with us. He leaves tomorrow for Duke University. Steve Cox will take him to Norman's Key by boat, and John has chartered an airplane to take him to Nassau for $150. Then another airplane to Miami, another to Atlanta, Georgia, and another to Raleigh, North Carolina, I believe, then a bus back to Duke University. Hopefully he'll mail this to you from Miami, Florida. Right now, Patty and Peter are sailing and Mark and Jan are fishing. It's been so great having everyone together again. It truly would be heaven if Pamela were here. I wish you could come too. Peter says you'd enjoy it. Steve Cox asked Peter about you. We were so happy to arrive and find the beach gazebo roof finished. John, Mark, and Peter had built the roof at Christmas, and Steve and Thaddeus had finished the lathing it and palm fronding it, so all we had to do was screen it, and now John and Mark are making the sliding screen doors. It's so nice. We are having our parties in it. John said, "This is fun, fun." This has been a truly great trip. A good time at the convention in Disney World and then with the Dickinsons at New Smyrna Beach. They drove me to St. Augustine and I went to the school where I used to teach and saw Dale. I stayed with her till Friday. We took the Dickinsons and Dale to dinner. Saw some of the old teachers. The school is great, like a college campus. Dale said I'd done more for her in 2 days. Her husband died December 10th. Wade's mother is 84 years old and she's beautiful. Wade is on his second marriage and had just one daughter. Send Daphne's and Janice zip codes, please. I took Wade's daughter some flowers. Dale is the speech teacher. I enjoyed visiting the school. Everything is really expanded and rebuilt. The houses where I used to live look so good, so much new development around St. Augustine. We went out to dinner at Daytona, Marcos, a great place, and Dale drove me to the airport at Daytona. 82,000 motorcyclists there for a rally. Glad to get out of there. I flew to Miami and met John and then Peter. Then we flew to Nassau and got gas and groceries and lumber and met Mark and Janice and flew to Norman's Key. And Steve met us in 2 boats. Patty flew down Monday in a 7-passenger plane just for her, $200. We'll miss Peter. John wants me to make reservations for Christmas as soon as we get back. It is so beautiful. We'll come December 18th to January 5th, God willing. I made airplane reservations to Regina for us July 1st to the 8th, okay? Peter gets out of college in May and wants to visit Patty at Dartmouth. She graduates June 8th. Patty graduating. Chris wrote that she wanted to come down with Pat while we're away, or Shirley when we get back, Easter. And then I'm having a bridal shower for Char's daughter on April 11th, 12th. 9 years since Pamela left, April 11th, 1971. We hope you're both well. I'm looking forward to seeing my spring flowers, daffodils and tulips. Did my bulbs come up? Crocuses? Love, Ruth, John, Mark, Jan, Patty, and Peter. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. March 25th, 1980. Dearest Mother and Dad, what a tremendous experience this past month trip was. Such a great variety of events, people, and places. Best of all was the people, especially being with our wonderful kids. They really were a joy to be with, and we had such a great times together. Peter is such a vital spirit with boundless energy and so intent on everyone having a good time. First thing in the morning, sunrise, he'd be off for a swim, and then he'd get water from the cistern if we needed it. And after breakfast, off to Steve to get ice for our refrigerator coolers. Peter spoke of you so often and well, said that you were a fun person, and wished you'd come down. Steve Cox also asked about you. Peter also brought down lots of music on cassette tapes, and we danced on the patio. Quite spirited. Native music, so we really cajoled. John usually made breakfast, Pam's bacon-egg thing that we all like. Patty and Janice usually did the dishes in the sea. Janice is a very hard worker, had made enough brownies for our whole family for 2 weeks. She's so pretty. Lovely blonde hair and gets a gorgeous tan. Patty is just lovely and so happy. She told me that she was so sad after Pam died and for so many years that she feels as though she's having her adolescence now. One boy drove her to the bus and another to the airplane, and 2 boys were meeting her airplane, one in Boston and another to drive her to Dartmouth. I was cautioning her about getting on with her career and not getting emotionally involved, but she said that I shouldn't deny her having a good time. Mark's neck is still bothering him, so I'm still praying about it. He meditated in the sun, and we filled the waterbed, and he thought that and swimming helped. We were so thrilled with our new gazebo on the beach. It is so nice, palm thatched. Mark and Jan screened it, and John and Mark made sliding screen doors for it. A big job, and John put molding on all the screens, so it is nice. Patty and Jan made almost all the dinners. Steve brought us lovely cooked fish and peas and rice, and the conch fisherman gave us good fresh filleted fish. And Mark and Jan caught some too. On the way home, we went to Paradise Island for a wonderful Sunday brunch buffet on the hotel patio, and also the native straw market. And in Miami had a lovely candlelit dinner at the top of the hotel dining room and champagne on the airplane home. We just got to bed at 4 o'clock a.m. this morning, and John went to work about 3 p.m. for a couple hours. I've just had a hot bath and going to have another. It's raining here, but my crocuses are up and cheery looking. We miss sunny Bahamas, though. Disney World and the convention were great times, and being with the Dickinsons and seeing Dale were great too. Tell Bud that when his family gets together again that it will be so wonderful that it will make up for being apart. The kids make great adults. We've all had enough sadness in our lives. The rest is going to be so good. Your letter arrived just a few hours after we got home, and so glad that you're still going strong. John said that your letters still sound subdued. I think since Janet left. It's good that Bud travels to Toronto and can see her. Brian looks so happy in his pictures. Joan will be a success, I'm sure. Jessica is a really lovely gift, a treasure. You sent Janet and Daphne's addresses, but no zip codes. I would love to have Janet come down when some of the kids are home, if they ever are this summer. I've had so much sun and sea that I feel like a prune. Patty and Jan had gorgeous tans. Patty is most anxious for me to enter my paintings in art shows and sell some. She feels that if I sell some, I'll have more confidence in them and incentive to paint more. It was so wonderful of you to paint a plate for their 50th wedding anniversary. I'm proud of you. How are you? Love, John and Ruth. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. Monday, April 14th, 1980. Dearest Mother, it certainly was good to hear from you today. How are you? It has seemed that we don't hear as often and your letters are subdued. I'm glad that you enjoyed the Easter lily, but I think I'll have John call the florist about it because it should have been larger, more blooms for about $20. I can buy one here for $3.98. John's mother didn't want a lily this year, but asked us to get her a fern when she moves this Friday. Dick sent her a lily that had 11 blooms on it. We've had a busy Easter season also. Monday nights we have a spiritual healing service, and Thursday we had a Seder Passover dinner. John and I went to the 3-hour service Good Friday. I stayed for 3 hours. Sunday, Easter too. We had flowers on the altar for Pamela on Easter and yesterday. We went to the cemetery Easter and Friday, April 11th, 9 years. Also visited John's dad's spot. We took Helen and John's mother to the French Quarter for an Easter dinner. John's mother has her house all cleared out, sold her bedroom suite. She's rented a new apartment near Carroll, less than a mile away. When we took her to dinner once in Huron, she saw these apartments being built, and is the first to rent one, $350 a month. It is on the ground floor, and she has a parking space by the door, no steps, and is like your house. She has a front and back door, and it's not very big. She's trying to sell her house and get $50,000 so that Carol can invest it and get 17% interest on it for her, $8,500 a year in interest. $700 a month plus her Social Security. Patty wanted to know what she did with all her things. I really don't know. She only gave us a couple of comforters and little carpet pieces and music books for Patty. Peter wants me to make plane reservations for him to visit you next month. He'll probably come May 27th to June 3rd. Would that be all right with you? Patty graduates June 8th and thinks she wants to go to medical school. Yesterday I had a bridal luncheon shower here for Char's daughter, 14 people for lunch. Friday night we're having a party for friends who are getting married. My friend Joanne, who died in October, her husband, they have 3 children, is marrying Anne, a friend whose husband died a couple years ago with 4 children. Her baby born 3 weeks after her husband died, so 7 children. We're having 22 folks for dinner here. So we're having 5 couples from each church, Carly's and ours, an ecumenical party. Lots to do to get the house in shape from being away in winter, and I don't have a cleaning woman, so I am tired. I got the windows washed, and John raked the yard. My daffodils are out, so the house is filled with daffodils, pussy willows, and forsythia. Peter phoned last Thursday the 10th. He was chairman of the Ethnic Culture Day at Duke University. Mark phoned Saturday and Patty Sunday, and 2 letters from her today. It was so good to hear from them. Patty wrote on April 11th, Dear Mom and Dad, I was thinking of you today. It is beautiful and sunny, and I can hardly believe it has been 9 years since Pam died. I feel Pam's spirit giving me positive, inspirational motivation each time I think of her. She is so busy now finishing up her college, Peter too. Janet will be home to visit you soon, so that will help your spirits. I'm so glad that you have your friend Irene near. Let me know if those dates are okay for Peter to come. Had you asked Chris to come? Please return this old picture. God bless. Love, Ruth and John, Mark, Janice, Patty, and Peter. And here's a letter from John to Grandma Smallshaw. Meyer, Stevens, and Ray, attorney at law, Cleveland, Ohio, April 14th, 1980. Dear Mrs. Smallshaw, we thought you might enjoy the enclosed church program from yesterday with the note about Pamela. We hope you are well. Love, John. 21508 Avalon Drive, Rocky River, Ohio, 44116. April 28th, 1980. Dearest Mother and Dad, it was so good to hear from you. How I wish that I could press a button and have you here to enjoy our spring flowers. Our daffodils are spectacular, and our magnolia tree is so beautiful. Hyacinths and tulips, such a lovely spring sight. We had the luncheon shower for Char's daughter and 22 folks for dinner for friends getting married. My friend who died last fall was only 39 and left 3 children. Her husband married another friend whose husband had died, and she has 4 children, so they now have 7 children between them. John was out in San Francisco, California last week. He flew home, got home at 6 o'clock a.m. Saturday, and Char's daughter's wedding was at 11 a.m., then reception, dinner, and dance. Char and Don McQuilkin were divorced last fall, but they danced together. They had over 200 folks there for the dinner and dance. We played bridge 2 nights also. Bridge party at church this Friday and out to dinner. Mint juleps and Kentucky Derby and dinner Saturday at the Rudges. He was Commodore at the Yacht Club last year. Peter will go through his year at Duke University next week and going camping, then we'll go to get him. He plans to visit Mark and Jan in Boston and Patty at Dartmouth and have his plane ticket paid for him to fly to Regina May 27th until June 3rd. Patty's graduation is June 8th. Then Peter goes on his boat job, and Patty starts Western Reserve University to take chemistry so she can apply to medical school, hopefully. She'll have to take physics and calculus also later. We shall see. I'm certainly sorry to hear about Brian's hepatitis. What kind was it? Is it infectious? Why is Janet taking a health course in Regina? Give her our love. You'll be glad to see her. Maybe she can see Peter when he changes planes in Toronto. Send me her telephone number so he can call her. John's mother has moved, sold her house, and got rid of all her things. Her new address is Mrs. Gertrude Zook Ray, 224 Williams Street, Apartment G, Huron, Ohio, 44839. She's less than a mile from her daughter Carol and Carol has helped her do this. We hope you are okay. John feels your letters are still very subdued. Since Janet left, John called the florist about the lily. It should have had more blooms for almost $20. We certainly hope you are well. God bless. Love, Ruth and John. Now we have a letter to the editor based on the original publication from my father, John S. Ray. Dear editor, SFMC number 81 read and thoroughly enjoyed. The 3 pages of pictures are just wonderful. The picture of Peter, Dad, and the lobster is a classic. I'll never forget the caulk boat trip to Norman's Cay. We were late and could see our plane landing off in the distance. Your array of Boy Scout awards is impressive. Speaking of the Bahamas, Red said each trip cost about $2,500 or $5,000 for our Christmas and Easter trips. But these golden opportunities don't come often. Truer words were never spoken. What great times with our family. A great statement by Ruth. We've all had enough sadness in our lives. The rest is going to be so good. Another great quote from Ruth. I've had so much sun and sea that I feel like a prune. Flowers on the altar in memory of Pamela Ruth Ray. Thank you for another great issue. Keep up the good work. Love, Dad. John S. Ray, Rocky River, Ohio. Well, that concludes today's presentation. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.